Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Full Command Show. My name is Grant Mitchell, and we are here to talk about everything coming out of the Washington Commanders training camp ahead of this beautiful yet sunny Tuesday morning. It's 7:30 a.m. as I'm recording this, probably already up to 90 degrees. The weather here has been scorching. Last year, we had that stretch where like 27 out of 30 days were over 100 degrees. We're not quite at that level, but it's cooking outside, and it's been really humid. So good condition for the boys out there in Ashburn. But if you're one of those people out in the stands watching, bring an umbrella and maybe a change of shirt and some sunscreen. And hopefully that makes the experience worth it. But guys, we are here to talk about the Commanders, like I mentioned. If you do enjoy me or the Commanders or the news updates, do me a favor and hit the like button on this video. I posted a really emotional video talking about Terry McLaurin's contract situation yesterday. I really encourage you to go check that out. I think it's probably the best video that I have put out on this channel. Hit the subscribe button if you want to be locked in for daily updates about the Commanders. That's right, daily videos. In the case of yesterday, I posted twice in one day. And we've got a whole lot more on the way. So before we get into anything big here today, let's start with the Terry McLaurin update. Because as I mentioned yesterday, posted a video specifically talking about him. An hour or two after I posted that, we got some important news. Now, it doesn't directly involve Terry, but Courtland Sutton, who is he a Pro Bowler? Has Courtland Sutton made a Pro Bowl? I gotta check his Wikipedia page. Oh gosh, and now of course I'm going to YouTube and all sorts of other stuff. Courtland Sutton has made the Pro Bowl one time in 2019. He's also a two-time first-team All-AAC member at SMU. Of course, now the SMU is in the ACC. Okay, Courtland Sutton signed a new contract with the Denver Broncos. Courtland Sutton is 29. He was born in October. Terry McLaurin is 29, born in September. Courtland Sutton last year, let's do a little comparison. 81 receptions, 1,081 yards, 8 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin, 82 receptions, 1,096 yards, 13 touchdowns. So they were separated by one catch and 15 yards. Terry did have 5 more touchdowns and obviously made a playoff run, which the Broncos did not. But I bring this up because as Terry, it has been reported that he wants at least $33 million per year. Actually, Adam Schefter said he thinks Terry wants considerably more than $33 million per year. Courtland Sutton just signed a 4-year deal worth $23 million average annual value. Now look, Courtland Sutton is not and has not been the player that Terry McLaurin has. But if we're going to look at their numbers side by side, and I just got to drag these up real quick, so give me just one moment here. They've both been very available. The only stain on Courtland Sutton's resume is he played one game in 2020, got knocked out for the year. But other than that, he's been 16, 16, 17, 15, 16, 17 games played. He had, as I mentioned, 1,081 yards last year. Before that, it was 772, 829, 776, 1,112. Touchdowns, all in a wide range, really. 2, 2, 6, 10. With Terry, he's been much more consistent. 1,000 yards, 1,191, 1,053, 1,118, touchdowns of 4, 5, 5, 4. So Terry has been better, but he's not been demonstrably better. You know, I talked about this more in depth on yesterday's video, but Terry is trying to basically become one of the 4 highest paid receivers in the NFL, which would group him with CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson. And if we're comparing Terry, if you say, okay, who does Terry numbers more directly mimic? Courtland Sutton or Jamar Chase? The answer is Courtland Sutton. If you want to look at DK Metcalf, well, actually DK is a bit of an outlier because the Steelers overpaid for him. But someone else right in that $33, $34 million range, someone like CeeDee Lamb. Who do Terry's numbers more directly represent? He's closer to the Courtland Sutton side of things. So you've got this guy making $23 million versus CeeDee Lamb making $35 million, and Terry lands somewhere right in the middle, which is about $29 million or so. And that's probably, in my opinion, what the Commanders are offering him. Maybe a little bit under, maybe 27, 28 million, factoring in the fact that he's going to be 30 in the first month of the season. But the bottom line is that this does not help Terry's bargaining power, this Courtland Sutton deal. And Adam Peters and company, I don't know if they were waiting on this extension to use it as a data point, because if Sutton signed for $28 million, then I feel like at some point today, Terry's deal would have been done because the Commanders would have been backed into a corner with nowhere to go. But they're looking at this like, you're telling us a guy who had nearly the same season as you last year, also with a rookie quarterback, who most people believe was not as good as Jayden Daniels, a guy who is exactly your age, aside from the fact he's actually 1 month younger than you are. You're telling us he just signed for that $23 million value, which is the value of your current contract? That's interesting. Now, average annual value isn't everything. Of course, you got to consider how long is the deal, how much guaranteed money is there, and yes, that plays a massive part. In many cases, guaranteed money is more important than average annual value. But to get more guaranteed money, the average annual value does have to go up. So maybe there's a world in which Terry realizes that he's played his cards, he's not won the hand, and he starts to back off of his average annual value demands if the Commanders will raise the guaranteed money, and maybe that's how they get to a deal. But as I said yesterday, Adam Schefter said that these two sides are still not close, and it's going to take a reality check. McLaurin and his agent are going to have to be able to sit down and look at each other and say, we really tried our best to get this money. The market went one way with the DK Metcalf deal. Now it's going the other way with the Courtland Sutton deal, and we're going to have to take less. Whether or not they have it in them to have that conversation remains to be seen. I guess we will, only time will tell, and we'll see what happens there. Getting into some of the specifics actually from training camp. Yesterday, Dan Quinn opened up the day by talking about one of the things he wanted to watch in the first day of pads was the running downs. Not the running backs, but the running downs. So first, second, and long. How do you set yourself up for third down? Are you able to get an early chunk play that is safe? You don't have to risk throwing an interception, and something and you can do it sustainably. You can start every drive in 2nd and 4 instead of 2nd and 8. And I love to hear that because I thought about the offseason additions of Laremy Tunsil and Josh Conerly and the hype surrounding Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. It's like, yeah, you're right. This is exactly what I want to see. Well, good and bad news. And really, which side of that takes more importance kind of depends just on your whole perspective of the situation. So according to all reports coming out of the camp yesterday, the defensive line balled out. Deron Payne, Dietrich Wise, Von Miller, Eddie Goldman, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, all these cats were dominating. The offensive line could get no push at all. Disclaimer, Laremy Tunsil had a veteran rest day, so he was not a part of that. Josh Conerly Jr. and Andrew Wiley have been rotating reps with the ones throughout training camp. That doesn't necessarily mean every series. Sometimes it means you get 1 day here, you get 1 day here. I wasn't at the practice. I don't know how many reps were Conerly versus Wiley, but point being, the defensive line dominated the day, according to all reports. On the one hand, that's extremely encouraging because I think a lot of people would agree the most disappointing unit on the Commanders team last year was the defensive line, specifically with how they dealt with the run. They gave up 200 plus rushing yards to the Eagles all 3 times they faced them. It felt like they could never prevent opponents from gathering momentum. If they were getting stops, it was down by the goal line, is what it mostly felt like. And yeah, they did well against the Browns and the Titans and the Saints, although they almost choked that game away. But when they came up against these high-powered offenses, it really was stopping touchdowns, turning them into field goals, or getting a turnover. Like the Lions game, they forced the turnovers. The Buccaneers game, a lot of people forget, probably was a loss if Baker Mayfield doesn't fumble on his own 20-yard line. And that was just one of those turnovers which flipped the script of a game. But it rarely felt like the Commanders dug in the trenches and stood up to their opponent. Without Tunsil and Conerly, potentially Conerly. Again, I'm not clear on that whole situation. It's still not what they're going to experience when they go against the offensive line of the Eagles, for example, but it's a very good start, especially since a lot of people were underwhelmed by the Commanders' offseason moves at those positions. Keeping it in the trenches, I want to go to a quote from Lionel Willingham of 1067 The Fan, who was talking about Josh Conerly Jr., the Commanders' first-round pick, which, by all accounts, a first-round pick is supposed to be an immediate contributor. And let's just think about some of these other Commanders draft picks recently. This year, players that we are expecting to make early impacts include Jalen Lane and Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Trey Amos. Last year, obviously, Jayden Daniels and Mike Sainristil still, and Luke McCaffrey could be having a big year, and Johnny Newton's probably going to be the starting defensive tackle. A lot of guys like that. But Josh Conerly Jr., again, according to Lionel Willingham of 1067 The Fan, has been, quote, underwhelming at training camp so far. Here's what he said. Yesterday, which would be Monday, he gave up 3 straight pressures to Javonte Jean-Baptiste, who is only a second-year player. Lionel Williams said that Conerly has heavy feet, which is concerning because the risk with drafting Conerly was that his play strength wouldn't develop. Speed was never supposed to be an issue. He tested very well in the agility stuff and the speed at the combine. You cut on the tape, that's what he was great at. Oregon trusted him so much moving that they let him run for a touchdown. And that without the pads during the rookie minicamp and everything, all you heard Dan Quinn talking about was, man, this guy's so athletic. I can't wait to get him out in space on a screen or on pulling run plays where he's pulling around as the lead blocker. And apparently that's not what has happened out on the field. He's been losing against speed. Again, 3 straight pressures to Javonte Jean-Baptiste, where apparently all he was doing was just looping around the outside. There wasn't speed to power. It wasn't a bull rush. It was just getting right around him on the outside. Now, the one good part of this is Jayden Daniels as a running quarterback is he almost counts for a 6th lineman in himself, because he will finagle the pocket in such a way that whereas a traditional pocket passer would probably go down, he's just going to find a new angle, or he's going to skip out to the side, or he's just going to run away from everyone. There was a great example of that against the Browns, where I think it was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. The Browns had 4 or 5 guys coming straight on against the Commanders blocker. Koramoah is coming free on the outside. It's a 4th down. Jayden hangs in there, and right as Koramoah arrives, he scampers out to the right, runs right around him, and gets an easy 1st down. Jayden can do that stuff for you, but that's not what you want. That's not the position you want to put your quarterback in and play out, especially when a 1st-round draft pick is supposed to anchor that side of the line for 10 years plus. Now, it's still early. It was also only 1 practice, and we do have to keep in mind Conerly is going against players like Von Miller. That's not easy for a rookie, even if we're just to assume hypothetically, which I don't believe, but hypothetically, let's say Conerly Jr. possesses more raw physical talent at this stage of his career than Von Miller does. Well, he has no reps in the NFL, whereas Von Miller has been there for 14 years and has won a Super Bowl MVP. He's just going to beat him with his mind alone. That I'm cool with. Javonte Jean-Baptiste is a different story. And again, it's good on one hand that Jean-Baptiste is getting to the quarterback, because hopefully he does that when he's out there during the game. But Conerly, you just want him to play better. It's 1 training camp practice. I'm not getting too worked up about it. I'm also cutting him grace, or showing him grace, because he's playing a new position. It's easy to think that right tackle and left tackle are the same thing and they work the same skill sets. Sure. But just imagine let's say you're right-handed. If I told you for an entire day you had to brush your teeth with your left hand, and you had to hold your glass of water with your left hand, and you had to eat your food with your left hand, and you just had to switch the hand you did everything with. And then you got to factor in your feet too, because footwork is a massive part of being an offensive lineman. It's going to take some time. And making that transition, I know he won MVP at the Senior Bowl while playing on the right side of the line, just to kind of prepare himself in case he needed to do that in the NFL. But it's a whole lot different going against legitimate NFL players. So I'm cutting him grace, but at the same time, it seems like maybe he's not going to be the week 1 starter. We'll just have to wait and see. Maybe it'll be Andrew Wiley. That's the benefit of having a lot of veterans. You know, the Commanders have 7 offensive linemen they really trust. You got Tunsil, Coleman, Biadish, Cosme, Conerly. Then you also have Nick Allegretti and Andrew Wiley. A really nice 7-man rotation there. So, and also some other veterans as well. But those top 7, it's guys that either played for you last year or expected to start this year. One final note on Monday, and a big one here. Jayden Daniels was the star of this show. It's funny that as soon as you put on the pads, this guy wins everything, and he looks the best. Because as much as we love Jayden, when the quarterbacks have some of those throwing competitions, even the quarterback coach David Blau gets involved, he wins a lot. Or Marcus Mariota wins a lot. Sam Hartman, I think, might have won before. Jayden's not always the guy, really not even usually the guy winning these trash can throw competitions, the throws into the nets, to my understanding. Or if he is, let's say it's like a 50-50 split at best. He hasn't won all of them. But as soon as you put on the pads, it's just something about this kid where he just goes to work. And when we get to the season, and there are all these questions about Terry McLaurin and defense that's flat out, it's either super old or it's super young with no guys in the middle, established players in their prime, and the Terry McLaurin holdout situation, it's a very calming feeling to know that you have a quarterback who is going to make everybody better. And maybe when the season rolls around, this McLaurin deal, maybe it doesn't get worked out because they have so much confidence in Jayden's ability to make everyone better and to raise the floor. Whatever happens with that situation, we're going to be covering it here. So you know what to do. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you're always locked in for my future videos. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like button. It helps me out tremendously. Go to the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on everything I said. I reply to every and all comment, and I also respect all of your opinions. This is not just a channel. This is a community. I want to build. I want to interact with all of you. So go on, get down there, get active. I will catch you all in the next one. And as always, have a great day.